Hello there. Welcome, and thank you for joining me tonight. Find a cozy spot, let your shoulders drop, and take a deep breath. You're in a safe space now, just you, me, and a story whispered through time. So close your eyes, let your mind wander, and let's begin our journey. How these stones came to be. Ages and ages ago, there was born at the foot of the Himalaya mountains in the north of India a boy named Gautama. His mother, Maya, died when he was born, but his mother's sister, who was also a wife of his father, loved him as her own son and reared him with such kindness that he never knew the loss of a mother's love. As Gautama's father was the king of his tribe, his boyhood was happier than that of most children. It was as though the sun shone for him all the time, with no night and no rain. There were crowds of servants around him at all times to wait upon him. There were young noblemen a little older than himself who taught him games, and old warriors who taught him how to use the weapons of his times for the protection of his country. While he played, and from time to time attended great hunting parties, yet the hours of the early day were spent in study with his master, the priest of the palace. Like every Indian boy of high caste, he learned the sacred Vedas by heart. Very wonderful are these Veklas, for they tell high songs and stories of the noble deeds of the people who dwelt in India thousands of years ago, and who were the ancestors of the boys and girls of his time. Even today, the children of India must study them as a part of their religious instruction. Gautama had 3 homes according to the Indian year, which had summer, winter, and the rains. In each home he grew to know and enjoy the beauties of nature, the flowers so wonderfully cultivated in one palace garden, the wild shrubs of the mountains in another, and in the third the soft rains that filled the streams and rivers and made fertile the valley that lay below his home during the rainy sea sun. His master had taught him that it was wicked to take the life of anyone, whether it were man or beast, so he made friends of all animals and treated them as companions no matter where he met them. In the palace grounds, on the mountainside, or in the deep forest, they were to him as brothers. The animals returned his kindness with kindness. Thus, in peace and harmony among loving relatives and friends, Gautama grew into manhood. Like other Indian Boavis, he married when he reached the age of manhood. His wife was his cousin Gopa, a good and beautiful woman. After a time, they had a little son whom they called Rabula. Gautama loved him with all his heart, but while Rabula was still a baby, he said goodbye to his wife, to his aunt who had given him a mother's love, to his father, to his little son, and left his palace home which contained all he used to love and enjoy, to go out into the wilderness to live as a poor beggar on the fruits of the earth and the alms of the charitable. This he did, hoping that by a life spent away from all the good things of the world, he might see the truth through leading a holy life. For 7 years he lived in a hut in the wilderness, fasting, studying, thinking, his only companions animals and hermits like himself. At the end of all these years he felt that truth was very far off and that he had gained little in goodness. One day, feeling very much discouraged, he sat under a bo tree to rest. He fell asleep, and in a dream he saw a light which revealed to him the truth for which all these years he had been searching. He awoke and knew that he had been rewarded at last for all the years of study in the wilderness. But now no longer might he dwell in the wilderness, for the truth that had been revealed to him must be passed on to others, from that day until the end of his life. Gautama, who was now called Buddha, which means the awakened or one who knows, went over India from north to south and from east to west, teaching to all the people who sought him the wonderful knowledge of the truth of life that had been given him by the gods as he sat under the bo tree. In the evening, when the sun was setting low behind the hills in the west, and the air was growing cool with the coming night, Buddha, with his followers, whom he called brethren, tired after their labors of the day, would sit to rest on the ground in front of the tent, called the House of Truth. The brethren always had many questions to ask the master, for they thought he knew and understood everything. Sometimes, instead of answering their questions, he would tell them a story of a life he had lived before and which he remembered. Many of the people of India, even today, have a belief that every human being has lived in this world many times before. Sometimes they believe it might have been as a monkey or an elephant, or at another time as a cow, horse, or some other animal. It is because of this belief that the people of India are very kind and good to all animals. These are the stories Buddha told the brethren. Thank you for listening. Let the whispers of the story carry you softly into your dreams. And remember, the world is full of magic if you only take the time to listen. Good night. Sweet dreams. Until next time.